Eleni, and you are with us to talk about the concept of social resilience as you have used in your studies. So before beginning talking about the concept, can you please introduce yourself for the viewers?
Of course, my name is Eleni Kalantidou. I'm a senior lecturer at Griffith University in Brisbane, Australia, and I identify as a design psychologist, researcher, and teacher mostly. And my area of practice is adaptation, community resilience, and community-led behavioral change.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Eleni. I have seen some of your research, and particularly when you talk about resilience as a practice, and you also talked about social resilience, especially in the context of that we are not going towards back to normal. So it actually challenged the main definition of resilience that says that we bounce back to a normal state. So this is very interesting. So I would like to hear from you that how do you frame or conceptualize social resilience in your research?
The article you're talking about was written in 2020, and we were in the midst of COVID-19. So, and the article was written for human awareness, and there was a special call for articles in relation to COVID responses. And I touched on resilience, especially social resilience, because I think it's extremely important within the context of what we're facing as humanity. Climate change, pandemics, migration driven by climate change. So in that context, I saw social resilience as something that it's not framed properly yet. And the reason why is because usually resilience derives as a concept from economy and is attached to bouncing back. And in that way, we identify resilience as economic resilience, our ability to be able to economically bounce back or recover from an economic fallout. So in that sense, resilience is defined as the ability of a state, the ability of an individual, the ability of society to recover financially, which is extremely problematic given the limitations of the concept in terms of how society, communities cope with change, how society and communities cope with unpredictable and unexpected situations. And in the same context that defines resilience as an economic concept, we also see resilience being attached to the individual. So being strong, being someone who can bounce back, and being in a context where we address change as something bad. So this is the existing context of resilience. And of course, it's driven by the predominant economic system. It's driven by globalization. It's driven by a philosophy of individualization. But the problem is, moving forward, that won't work, especially given the fact that we don't know what resources are going to be available in the future. We don't know how we will be able to cope in the face of climate change. But we do know that humans have survived as communities. Humans have survived as interdependent, and adaptation is part of our DNA. So instead of trying to survive as individuals or relying on existing socioeconomic systems, we need to start exploring again the concept of community, and actually concepts like commons or self-organized communities, because they have been exemplifying adaptation and resilience within their microsphere, of course, but we have so many examples currently that showcase resilience by adapting to their specific circumstances. I hope I have kind of answered your question, and
Yes.
I can go on, but I can be more specific as well. Yeah.
Exactly. We can continue with this question and another question maybe. Yes, you have rightly said about the concept of social resilience, because it is still emerging and it needs more thoughts on it, and that's why we're talking about it. You talked about interdependence, and I think that is a key thing in it that makes human beings social. So, and I would say more than individual, we are social beings. In that sense, how do you see the social being connected with resilience when we are trying to define social resilience?
Again, it comes from the practice of being resilient. And in that sense, we can't be resilient on our own. In the face of a crisis, we rely on each other for housing, for shelter, for food, for help. So in that sense, it's not a concept that it's a standalone concept. Social resilience is about surviving together. It's about adapting together. It's about creating conditions of well-being together. And again, that's why I am bringing as an example, again, commons and self-organized communities, because they have showcased how to adapt successfully with limited means. And they have showcased examples of camaraderie, interdependence, and self-reliance in terms of using existing resources, organizing their resources equitably, which is really, really important, and identifying conditions of environmental and social justice, which is another issue strongly related to resilience. We can't really have social resilience before we address issues of environmental and social injustice.
All right. One more thing that I just realized from the concept of social resilience, that you have also talked about in your studies, you have talked about resilience as a practice. So that make me think about that mostly resilience is seen as ability or capacity of individual or a social system to withstand crises. But when we talk about resilience as a practice, it makes it into an action, like it is something that we need to act. So what are your thoughts on it?
That goes back again to the community and the community's capacity to act upon a situation. So in that sense, by evaluating existing resources, by evaluating existing skills, by relying on lived experiences and how people approach their own locality, by being place-based, by acknowledging that they know their locality and they can adapt to it by employing what they have available. In that sense, resilience becomes a practice, because that activates a network which relies upon their existing resources to adapt. And so that you're also using Adja's concept of social resilience, which is about kind of the same thing, like the ability of people, the capacity and the activity to adapt while continuing to be able to survive. So that's important. The practice of resilience is about activating what is available in order to be able to adapt.
All right. And do you think that social resilience and community resilience are the same, or you think social resilience is a part of community resilience or a subset of concept of community resilience?
I'm using the concept social resilience, community resilience, and community-led resilience interchangeably, because I think they derive from the same thing, which is interdependence, and interdependence, lived experience, and a place-based approach toward adaptation. So in that sense, by relying on lived experience, by being place-based, by acknowledging the resources that can activate adaptation, all these aspects are common for the social, the community, and the community-led resilience. So in that sense, I think they're all interdependent. Social resilience could be a wider umbrella term, but that clusters community and community-led concepts. But at the same time, I think the principles are the same.
All right. Well, it was something that I was looking forward to hear, that social resilience should need to be more listened and voiced into the context where it is being used. Well, the final question or the last question, though I know that this concept is so rich that we can talk for hours about it, but I know that you are working on social resilience and you are also trying to further explore this concept. So what are you going to do next? Or maybe you can tell us about something, your recent work on social resilience.
So I'm currently working on a project that is situated in Queensland, Australia, and is situated in regional Queensland. And I'm working with at-risk youth. And the cohort is multicultural. So we have First Nations young men along with non-First Nations young men. The reason why we designed this project with Tammy Brennan was because we identified the need for a support system for young people through skilling and repair. So in that context, we see repair as the vehicle for social resilience, skilling as the vehicle for social resilience, and intergenerational exchange of skills as a vehicle for social resilience. So this project exemplifies how social resilience can be a practice by activating a community as a support system for at-risk youth. So by having a group of volunteers, artists, craftspeople, youth workers working with young men and instilling in them self-confidence, the sense that they can still learn, they are of value, and they can contribute to their society positively. And at the same time, while skilling them on repair, which is very much connected to material reuse, and it's all about retaining resources, we managed to create a network of not just support for the young people, but also for the community. So we brought a community together that works together to support young people, but also through this process, we have activated a community to support itself. So in that sense, skills come to the fore, relationships come to the fore, trusts come to the fore, interdependence comes to the fore. And it's really, really important, especially for regional communities, because in Queensland, they have been facing, especially the community we're working with, it has been facing high rates of unemployment. And at the same time, these communities are greatly impacted by climate change with, like we had the floods a couple of years ago, and this particular community was affected. So in that sense, raising awareness about what the community could be becomes a practice of social resilience through examples like the project I've been working on.
Yeah, it seems quite interesting because I think that it will include to talk about personal resources, community resources, and institutional resources together. So it seems quite interesting. I wish you good luck for this project.
Thank you. It's ongoing. We are in our third year, and yeah, we're trying really hard to keep the project alive.
But it will be. Thank you very much. And it was a wonderful way to talk to you about social resilience on here on Zoom. And I'm looking forward to hear more about your work on social resilience in future.
Excellent. Thank you so much for the invitation.
Thank you very much.